operated on one set of motion work, so it makes life a lot easier and a lot cheaper, of course, to make the engine and far less maintenance. Number 300 in your program. Little single cylinder engine here with a trailer on the back. No problems whatsoever going around. That'll be a 4.5 inch? Another 4 inch one coming around here. Some of them are 4.5. Why would you go for 4.5? Well, 4.5 inch happens to tie up quite nicely with the material you can buy from the rolling mill nowadays. Most of us haven't got a rolling mill in the back garden. And you have to buy your materials, standardisers, and the 4.5 inch happens to work out the right thickness for that kind of material. That's why it's done. Here's one of the glamour girls from the showground, as it were, in Minature. These engines, in full size of course, have very hard lives. They would be generating power for the rides throughout the week. Then they'd be, if they were a steaming engine, have a crane on the back to be helping to take the rides apart. And then they'd be taking perhaps a 50-ton load from one fairground to another. And they're actually never out of steam, and they work extremely hard throughout the seas. Imagine 3 trailers on the back of that, filthy night with a hurricane lamp on the front for light. How fast did they go? Depending on how far it was to the next pub and how close it was to closing time. Here's one that is in the process of being built. The first weekend they've had it out at the rally. As you can see, still in showman, still has to have the canter fitted and all sorts of little bits of mechanism we put on there, like the drain cap, levers and all this sort of thing. But they thought they'd bring it out, it's steamable. Let's see how well it goes, and they're very pleased with it. It's been going really, really well. Next one is one of the 4CD type timber tractor arrangement. Usually we have a winch on the back for pulling stuff out of the forest and this kind of thing, or could you use it as a ballast tractor pulling heavy loads around. The first engines, as we were saying earlier on, were portable engines. You move them one place to another, pulling them around with horses. And the portable engine has the motion work the other way round. The idea is that the guy who's operating the engine stands at the back, the belt goes past the chimney to whatever it's driving, so it's safe for the guy who's running the machine. When they started thinking about, well, these things already ought to be self-moving, they did this with a change, you can see there, driving to the gears on the back to drive the thing along. And it wasn't long before somebody decided, well, let's just turn the whole thing round the other way, and that's the way we normally see it now. But if you ever see a portable engine doing a job, one that has to be towed around one place, so you'll find that motion work is that way around. Little tiny 3-inch model here. I think if you want to see the real power of steam, look at what these tiny little engines are doing. Like that one that's on the Minature railway behind us. Tiny little tank engine there being hammering up and down all weekend, carrying enormous loads up and down, trying to keep the slope on the railway, and it's doing extremely well. Followed by 4-inch overtype Foden wagon, again with the chain drive down to the rear wheels. Yes, they had differentials and all that sort of thing, like having a normal machine. Another one of the singles here. Extension chimney, sometimes you have to do that with the model just to get a bit of a draft going. Also keeps the smoke out of your hair. This Foden overtype here is one of 6 that were made by Pascal. When you get that long to make one, you might as well just make 6 sets apart, or indeed 2, because if you make 2, you can sell one of them and pay for the materials for both. All you've got now is a free engine and a little beauty. And here's a typical example of the sort of thing you find going around from one farm to another in the day. You have a traction engine going around with the living van on the back. You have a contractor going from one farm to another. The thrashing drum on the back, or perhaps sometimes there's the living van with a couple of ploughing engines with the ploughs and all the rest of it going around from one farm to another. The farmers usually couldn't afford to have a set of ploughing engines that was very big farm available to them, and they would always have contractors in to do it for them. Another one of the Showman's engines here, one's called Sir Henry, and they're quite capable. A little generator on the front there was putting out a fair amount of power. That's in fact quite surprising. little barrel engine here. Barrels, of course, made up in Thetford. We were talking about the single track compound. This is another one. Far less machinery thrashing around on the top there. Far easier to manufacture and, of course, to look after because there are less moving parts. And it was a very clever idea, the way getting a compound engine with about half the moving parts. Little engine here, another oversight wagon, sort of thing you'd use for hauling stuff around. I mean, you could use it with a ballast wagon, you put heavy loaders back there, fairground people would like that sort of thing. Later on, of course, they did the same thing with the diesel lorries, such as the short wheelbase one we've got over there, which has got the winch on the back. They put a big generator on the back and it's become a generator and a ballast wagon for towing stuff around from one place to another. Another one of the agricultural engines there. Another big single with a water cart on the back. The early part of the last century, my father, about 1911, he had to fill the water cart and keep the two ploughing engines that were working on the farm fully watered up. All he had to fill the thing up with was a semi-rotary pump and a horse to pull the water cart around with. It's absolutely impossible. They could boil it much faster than they could pump it. So we'd all get told off not being fast enough. So that's the way of the world, I suppose, when you're a youngster. And this one's got two spare drivers on the back. They're perfectly happy in there. Look at that. Cracking. Take all this talking about on 4 chords. After. That's a lovely trailer, isn't it? Nice bit of woodwork. Look at that. I wonder where they get the wheels. You find that they used to have photographs of engines like that with a whole train of wagons on the back. I mean, legally nowadays, don't people are allowed to have multi-trailers with showground people, they can take it free. But you see some of these road trains back in the early 1900s have 7 or 8 wagons on the back, sometimes another engine on the back.